Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. I have some urgent and horrifying news. We're flying a banana with wings.
Yes, 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 we are Top Banana. Top Banana, that's us, Hughes Airwest. We'll greet you and seat you, go all out to treat you to Top Banana service. Yes, 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 we are Top Banana. 'Cause we make you a Top Banana too. Yes, 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 you are Top Banana. When you're flying with us, Hughes Airwest. Yes!
Hey folks, how's it going? I hope you're all doing amazing. Thanks for hanging out on this kind of lazy pandemic Monday night. I hope you're all doing amazing. Seat Back Pocket, how's it going? Golf, how's it going? Raptor Aviation, Gullwing, Bloms 1212, and Absolutely Aviation. Anybody else is in chat that hasn't chimed in with a howdy, feel free to drop a quick howdy. Hope you're all doing amazing. Thanks for hanging out today. So, I think those of you who've been following my streams recently are probably aware of this. I've been on a bit of a retro slant whiskey kick with the DC-9 in P3D and the FlyJSim 727 in X-Plane 11, and I figured it was time to break out another super interesting retro California airline that lasted for a while back in the 70s. So we're gonna recreate a super short, super fun retro Hughes Airwest route from here in Las Vegas, Nevada, over to Palm Springs, California. And we're just going to be navigating old school via VORs and things like that. Now, there's a really interesting history behind this livery from Hughes Airwest. As I kind of showed you from that clip earlier, that ad, Hughes Airwest actually formulated an entire ad campaign that lasted quite a while around the fact that people were nicknaming their airlines bananas, because obviously with the color and the shape of the DC-9, they did indeed look exactly like bananas. And Hughes Airwest certainly took full advantage of that in the marketing department. I wanted to show you something here real quick, so let's talk about the route we're doing and kind of the inspiration for this and all that jazz, and then we'll hop into the cockpit and get going in pretty short order. Sup Mosphere, how's it going there? What up to you? Thanks for hanging out. Seat Back Pocket, good evening to you, my friend. I hope you're doing well. Thanks for hanging out this evening. All right, I'm going to pull up my Chrome window here. All right, so first of all, let me show you the site here. So this is a really cool site, by the way, for those of you that are into retro airlines and retro airline memorabilia. There's a site on the web called the Northwest Airlines History Center, which includes a whole bunch of fantastic, interesting kind of history and information and memorabilia from not just Northwest Airlines, but all the airlines that over the course of the decades merged and then remerged, right, into Northwest Airlines. So Hughes Airwest, I think, merged into Republic, if I'm not mistaken. And Republic obviously eventually merged into Northwest Airlines. But anyway, the point of bringing up this this website was to show you a timetable I'm going to be referencing. So we're going to be referencing the timetable from September 1980, pretty much right at the tail end of Hughes Airwest's run in the sun there. Right before they merged into whoever they merged into. So this is pretty cool. You know, these are super high resolution scans of their timetables from way back in the day, and we're going to try and find the routing that will take, or the flight that will take us to Palm Springs. So this was the route map. As the name will tell you, essentially most of their routes were in the western part of the U.S., right? So they even went international to Canada and Mexico as well for a little while there. I'm going to look for Las Vegas on here. I'm going to find the flight number that we're going to be using today. So this is Las Vegas right here. This is the flight we're going to be flying tonight. Las Vegas to Palm Springs. Super short flight. Left at 3 p.m., arrived at 3:45, flight 946, Hughes Airwest. That's what we're going to be flying today. All right, and let's go ahead and pull up the routing that I'm planning on using today. So pretty straightforward, actually. It's just slant whiskey, like I mentioned. So let me pull up the low and route chart here. we're departing out of Las Vegas. We're gonna go outbound on the Las Vegas VOR-166 radial until we can pick up the Goff's VOR-346 radial inbound. And then at Goff's, we're going to join the Cloud 1 arrival, which is a arrival that is suited to an aircraft like ours, like a slant whiskey aircraft. So that's what we're going to be flying today. Cloud 1 over to Thermal, and then at Thermal, we're going to fly a super interesting VOR Bravo approach, because all the other approaches that are available are obviously RNAV approaches, which we can't fly. So we're going to fly the VOR Bravo with a hold in lieu of a procedure turn. For those of you that may not have seen this before on my streams, this could be super interesting to fly today. And we'll talk through that obviously in just a little bit once we get everything set up. Let me go ahead and pull up some chill music in the background. Give me 1 second while I go back to the prepared scene. There we go. All right. Okay. All right, let me get the sounds back on. Had those turned off for the intro. All right, and let's hop into flight deck here. So, wanted to very quickly here go ahead and make sure that all the fuel I burnt off in that super long intro and all that blabbing away I was doing earlier is topped off, so we didn't lose too much of that. And let's see, are there controllers online on VATSIM? Because I haven't yet braved VATSIM in the Coolsky DC-9 yet, at least not on stream. So yeah, there's controller online for LA Center, so I'm going to hop on VATSIM as well, and we'll have a little bit of fun on VATSIM tonight. So super short flight, and hopefully a super short stream as well. Didn't have too much time to stream tonight, unfortunately. But in case we have time remaining at the end of the stream, we might hop in the Coronado Waco in MSFS and do a little bit of flying around that super cool UK scenery that they recently released. I'm just going to hop on VATSIM here, folks. Just give me 1 second. Let me show you what I'm up to, actually. I'm just signing into VATSIM right now. What is the scene I wanted to show you? I wanted to show you my desktop capture scene, but I can't seem to find it. Where is that? There it is. Okay, alright. So Hughes Airwest 946, I think, was the flight number, and we're going to be at DC-93, DC-930 today. Alright, and let's do our flight plan here. We're going from Las Vegas to Palm Springs. Alternate is going to be, let's put in Burbank. I'm going to go depart at, let's say, maybe 20 minutes from now. So 0440, just to be on the safe side, and 030. Fuel available 1 hour 30, and cruise altitude is going to be 18,000. Pretty low today. Pretty short flight. It's going to be Las Vegas, Goff's, and Cloud 1, and we're going to be slant whiskey. All right, folks. Super cool. Excited to do this. I'm going to file my flight plan. Let's go back to the prepared scene. I'm going to tune in 125.8 there for LA Center. All right. Draculin says perfect for a teardrop entry. Draculin, you might want to revisit that assumption. Take a look at the Cloud 1, the direction we're coming from, and then take a look at that hold in lieu of a procedure turn, and let me know if you still think it's a teardrop entry. That's why I was super interested in trying that on stream, because there's a lot of interesting discussions that can be had around this kind of like old school slant whiskey, slant alpha type. Sorry, folks, I'm going to turn down the VATSIM audio. I really wish they had an equalizer on the server end. I don't know how all this works, but I really wish they had some sort of way of equalizing or better balancing out the different audio levels from different transmissions, different transmitters.
Holding point runway 27.
I'm just going to go to guard on that frequency, or in Comp 2. Alright, 121.5, and let's go ahead and pick up our IFR clearance here. Give me a second here to do that.
To Winfield, wind wind 1605, runway
It's still
27,
pretty
clear for
loud,
takeoff.
isn't it? I'm going to turn it down a bit more.
320 on a 1010 mile final for 27. Yeah.
Let me know if it's too loud, folks. I can turn it down some more. Golan says you've not flown on VATSIM in several months, and hearing this, you feel like you need to go back and do a couple. Yeah, it's VATSIM is fun. Pilot Edge is fun. You know, I think all the online networks are probably pretty fun. It certainly adds that extra level of immersion that we all demand these days, right? In our flight sim. In our flight sim experience, or in the flight sim viewing experience on streams these days, right?
I can tell I'm getting tired.
But again, do let me know in case it's too loud, because I can never get a good grasp on that from the feedback I get on my headsets, or my headset rather. I want to pull up my notes section. There we go, and yeah, hopefully.
1442
Yeah, I can draw. Perfect.
25 right, taxi your gate, monitor this frequency.
All right, let me go ahead and pull up my iPad on screen. Give me a second here to do that.
American 1442.
Star 5 HD, how's it going there, Star 5? Thanks for hanging out.
Skylass 5840,
all right.
1605, runway 27,
just going to try and mirror my iPad here real quick.
Down the runway on 27.
And I got to get in a word edgewise in order to pick up my clearance here. Okay, iPad mirrored. I just got to pull it up on screen. Give me a second to do that. Oh, and I got to get chatbot working. Give me a second to do that as well. That way, the sound commands are there for you to abuse within reason at your pleasure. So there we go. All right, just going to pull up my iPad on screen. Hopefully y'all can see it. Hopefully y'all can see what I'm showing as well. So I'm just going to write down my call sign, Hughes Airwest 946. Craft. We're going to Palm Springs. It's going to be the McCarran 1. Radar vectors, whatever. And yeah.
Thanks for flying. Monitor this frequency.
And let me go ahead actually and make sure I put in the remarks section of my flight plan that call sign is Hughes Air.
Center Delta 2017 will meet at the gate finally. Thank you for ABC. Have a great night.
Delta 2813, thanks for flying. Come back and see us. Take care.
Alright, let me call them up right now. LA Center, hello. Hughes Air 946. We're on the ground in Las Vegas. We're looking to pick up IFR to Palm Springs.
User 946, clear to Palm Springs as filed. Maintain 7,000. Expect flight level 180, 5 minutes after departure. Departure frequency with me on 125.8, squawk 7274.
Clear to Palm Springs as filed. Climb maintain 7,000. Expect flight level 180, 5 minutes after, squawk 7274, and departure with you, Hughes Air 946.
Air 946, readback is correct. Buys ready to taxi. Expect. Let's see how the winds are doing. They're variable at 4. Your choice. We can give you a tour over. Let's give you a tour over the strip. Expect one right for departure. Altimeter 3018.
One right, 3018. We'll call for taxi, Hughes Air 946. Thank you. Okay, one right. Going to have a nice little tour of the strip on the departure here, which is going to be amazing. All right, that's great. Let's go ahead and kind of...
DC-946, is that DC-3?
DC-930.
Okay.
Did I get the ICAO code wrong there?
No, that's fine. I was double checking because it wasn't DC-3, but anyway, yeah, I think you're fine. I'll double check it, so. Yeah, 319, welcome Los Angeles, cross 25 right, taxi.
All right, 7274 in the squawk there. And let's go ahead and do our departure briefing here in short order. 7274, that's squawking. James Iskander, how's it going? James 2, how's it going there, James? Hope you're doing well.
Change crew, Oakland Center offline. Switch to advisory now, 122.8. Have a good flight.
122.8.
Oh no, Drocklin, we're coming in. I'm glad you put some thought into that, but we're actually not coming in from Palm Springs. We're coming in from 29 Palms because we're on the Cloud 1, so it's going to be a parallel entry actually. But if we were coming in from Palm Springs, actually even Palm Springs, that would be I gotta look at this again. But even Palm Springs, from that angle, I suspect that would still be parallel entry, wouldn't it? But anyway, James, too. How's it going there, James? Hope you're doing well. All right, folks, I got to do a departure brief here as quickly as humanly possible. So just give me a second to do this.
DC-930, yeah. DC-93 is the code. Could be a Skytrain, Nightingale, DC-9, all kinds of fun aircraft.
JT-8E.
I wonder if Mike has that model.
The Sky Simulations? I do.
Seriously?
I do, but I don't fly it. You know I'm a general aviation person.
Well, that's true.
Who's he talking to? I'm trying to remember who this is. That another streamer that he's bringing up right now?
1549,
I am Slant Whiskey there, James. So it's an equipment code, right? Technically,
Guys, 5840, welcome to Limburg, exit left, contact ground 123.9,
well,
off the runway.
you know, I'm not an RVSM, obviously. I'm not going to be flying RVSM or that high today, but the aircraft is certified for RVSM. So the equipment code that I have on board is Slant Whiskey. I do want to do something here real quick. What is it? Oh, yes, I wanted to do my departure brief. Let's go ahead and do that real quick.
Los Angeles cross.
Okay, just going to pull my iPad up on screen. There we go. Going to pull the airport map up. And I wanted to get my speeds
sent off
the airspeed indicator there. And what else did I want to do?
724, buzzing 11.
I wanted to go ahead and close my doors.
Center flight 724,
because I'm going to forget that later. There we go. And let's go ahead and pull up the iPad on screen once again, and we'll quickly do our departure brief here.
Delta 8878, welcome to McCarran, exit right, cross 26 right, taxi to your gate, monitor the frequency, thanks for flying.
Okay. Alright, folks, there we go. Okay. Alright, so, the weather information at Las Vegas, we don't have a METAR available, unfortunately, but I do have the current METAR, or the most recent METAR. Winds for 240 at 4 knots, visibility 10 statute miles, clear skies, temperature 15, dew point -8, altimeter 3018. And we're located at Terminal 1 here, the A gates. And we're expecting 1 right for departure. So we're going to taxi to hold short of 1 right, quite likely via Golf, Delta, hold short of 1 right for departure. During the departure, any malfunctions before week 1, such as engine failure, fire, loss of control, aircraft unsafe to fly, etc., I'm going to gently massage the brakes into cooperating with me to bring me to a complete stop on the runway. Then we can advise ATC of any issues you might be having. Any problems after departure, we're going to handle it in the air and hope that I can handle it okay, considering I'm completely by myself here. My first officer has abandoned me. I still have a check captain somehow, mysteriously, but we'll get to him later. I forgot to mention our V speeds. We're going to be a flaps 5 departure today. V speeds are going to be 125, 129 on the rotate, and V2 of 137. So we got that. And pending any issues, it's going to be the McCarran 5 departure for us today, off of 1 right. Procedure is to climb on either assigned heading or climb, if we're given one. But we're going to climb on heading of 014, so I'm going to bug 014 on the heading indicator there. There we go, 014 bugged. And climb on that heading to 2,600 feet, then a climbing left turn on a heading of 315 degrees to 4,500 feet, then a climbing left turn heading 180. Okay, so we got that. Top altitude is going to be 7,000, so I'm going to put in 7,000 here for my altitude alerter. This airplane doesn't have an automatic level off on the autopilot, so I've got to listen for the sound when I'm 1,000 feet below or 1,000 feet above, whatever I have set in the altitude alert box. And once I hear that sound, I know I'm going to have to start planning to level off at that altitude. So that's set. Routing via radar vectors, transition or assigned route, maintain 7,000. We're going to expect vectors to GOFs today, so that's going to be the plan. I've got the frequency for Las Vegas 116.9 in NAV1 and 114.4 in NAV2 for GOFs. And let's see. Transition altitude 18,000, obviously. Radar and DME required. Runways 1 left and right. All the, obviously, that's just telling me the elevations and things to watch out for in terms of all the buildings that are on the strip and the mountains, etc., off in the distance, I suppose. Yeah, I think that's what that is. Really it's just the buildings on the strip that I got to watch out for. But that's really it. So we got everything we need for the departure brief. That's our departure brief. Let's go ahead and hide the iPad away. Don't need that for now. 1 second. Gonna hide it there. There we go. And I'm also gonna stop mirroring so we can save some computer resources here. All right, awesome. James, absolutely. Absolutely. I love seeing some of this older stuff on VATSIM as well. And I'm sure some of the controllers, as long as they're not too overloaded, probably enjoy seeing this stuff every once in a while also, right? So, absolutely. Totally agree with that. Okay, I think we're ready to push back here, folks. Make sure the doors are all closed. They are. And just once again, since we've been talking so long, just going to simulate a fuel truck showing up to top us off with fuel for no good reason. So that's done. All right, let's go ahead and request our pushback here. But to all those of you that are in chat, I hope you're all doing amazing. Thanks for hanging out today. Hope you're all doing amazing.
Go ahead.
Can you hear the engine with these headsets?
Okay, I'm going to prepare for pushback and departure there. There we go. So that's moving back, and let's go ahead and go through our checklist. Shift 7. There we go. Fuel quantity.
Yeah, it's kind of nice hearing the engine, so I knew it was a prop.
That's good.
Yeah, I'll try to get that out of prayer this time.
That's also looking good.
Well, don't do it just for me.
On.
We are connecting the tug now, so please confirm
Probe,
the
windshield.
parking brake is set.
On, Captain. On.
That's good.
Fuel pumps. Checked. On.
That's good as well. And this is actually going to be... What is this going to be?
Locking the gear now.
2,100, something like that, is what our current elevation actually is. There we go. Cabin pressure panel set.
Cabin pressure panel set. Altimeters set.
Okay.
Radios set.
Let's do a quick edit pushback here. I'm just going to position myself to right about there. I think that should do it.
All right, Captain, bypass pin is inserted and the tug is connected.
Takeoff warning.
Ready to push at your
Check.
discretion, and please release
Parking
park
brake.
brakes.
Set or off. Departure review complete. Anti-collision lights on.
Center will be closing in about 5 minutes.
A, B, or both.
Air conditioning supply.
Air conditioning supply off. Pneumatic crossfeed pressure open. Checked. Before start checklist complete.
Okay, before start checklist is complete. Fantastic.
Clone cleared RNAV Zulu runway 27 approach.
All right, let's go ahead and release the parking brake here, and we'll push back in just a hot second here.
Parking brake released.
Can you repeat that for 1462?
That's the 1462 at the Clone intersection. You're cleared RNAV Zulu runway 27
Okay, let's go to
approach.
start up the right engine there.
Okay, RNAV Zulu at Crone,
Just watching the engine gauges there. N2 coming up. Once N2 hits maximum motoring around about 20%, I think, I'm going to go ahead and get the fuel control lever into the on position. Okay, there we go. That's coming in. James, no worries at all. It's currently about 8:30 Pacific, but it's totally understandable. You know, this controller I think has been on a while. If I remember when I checked VATSIM, I think he's been on about 3 hours. Maybe I'm mistaken, but I think he's been on a while, so it completely makes sense that he's getting ready to call it a day. But yeah, James, totally. It'd be great if somebody else signed in or hopped on and gave us some services. If not, no big deal. I'm probably going to hop offline if nobody else shows up, but we'll see what happens here. Okay, looks like a good start there on engine 2. Let's go ahead and guard the start switch on number 2.
Pushback complete. Set.
Parking brake set.
Parking brake set. Starting left engine.
Starting left engine. Once again, just going to watch the N2 gauge on the number 1 engine. As that comes up on maximum motoring, somewhere between 15 to 20%, we'll go ahead and get the fuel shut off on for number...
Stand by. Unlocking the gear.
or number 1. There we go, and number 1 is starting up as well.
Your departure frequency will be 122.8.
As the ground crew gets ready to disconnect there.
We'll signal you on the dot and have a good flight.
All right. Once again, folks, we're flying some retro Hughes Airwest ops today. By the way, I've often referred to, on stream, I've often referred to my nostalgia for Virgin America, which is very, very certainly in my time. And a good part of the reason for my Virgin America nostalgia, of course, is that it was San Francisco's hometown airline for a while. This was San Francisco's other hometown airline, believe it or not. For a while, this was San Francisco's other hometown airline. Okay, good start on number 1 as well. All right, great. Let's go ahead and check the volts and frequency on the generators there. Good volts and amps for the right engine. Left engine, the frequency isn't coming in. It should come in a second. Let's go ahead and, oh man, I forgot to turn off the galley power earlier. But galley power on. Packs to auto.
Advisory and ground 23.9.
There we go. Air conditioning air off. Air conditioning or APU air off and APU master off. And ignition off. There we go. And let's go ahead and close the pneumatic crossfeeds back there. There we go. All right, fantastic. Let's go ahead and do our after start checklist here. Annunciator panel.
Annunciator panel checked.
The only lights we have up here are the lights we want, which are the lights for the lights for the anti-skid system. So those lights will go off as soon as we get the anti-skid on. You know, I just realized something. It's something kind of strange going on with the with ChasePlane here. Let me just. Whoops.
Aircraft service now closed. Time now 0436 Zulu. All aircraft flight on risk. Thanks for flying. Come back, see us. Take care. Switch to advisor 122.8. We'll see you.
Oh boy, that sucks. Well, center's closing. No big deal. We'll just fly offline for now. I'm gonna tune in 122.8, and
oh yeah. He's here. We'll see you later. Delta 1549.
all right, well, too bad. No worries at all. We'll just tune in Unicom for now. We'll deal with Unicom. Okay, the only lights that are up there are for the anti-skid system. As soon as we are moving as far away from the ramp as soon as we're turned away from the gate and the ramp area, we can turn the anti-skid on. So those lights will go out in short order. So that's
Ignition
taken care of.
Off. Engine anti-ice on or off?
Off.
Electrical system checked.
Electricals checked, and now we've got good frequency off the Gen 1 there, so that's good.
Air conditioning supply, auto, hydraulic system, on, high, on, check.
Okay, hydraulic system, the transfer pump goes on, the engine hydraulic pumps go to high, and the aux hydraulic pump goes to on, and we're watching for hydraulic pressure to rise into the upper green band, around about 3,000 psi. That's
Door
good.
lights and lock, checked. Shoulder harness. After start checklist complete. Before takeoff checklist.
Okay, we're going to do our before takeoff checklist. You guessed it, before takeoff. Turned away from the ramp there. Let's go ahead and get the nose lights on, and I think we're ready to taxi. Let's get the transponder on, make sure we're squawking mode Charlie. Indeed, we are. That's great. Did we get another... I noticed that LA Center still is online. Did we get somebody else who signed on? 1 second. Could we possibly be that lucky tonight? Let's see. James says you loved Virgin America's wing fences on their Airbus. Absolutely there, James. The wing fences were... they had the, what do you call it? They had the American flag painted on those wing fences, right? So, yeah, it was super cool. Virgin America is, it's really kind of a tragedy, honestly, that Alaska acquired them. Not that Alaska is a bad airline. Alaska is not a bad airline by any stretch of the imagination. It's actually one of the better ones when it comes to airlines in the U.S. But compared to Virgin America, it's like, it's really unfortunate that a legacy, if you will, carrier had to acquire and basically swallow up Virgin America and essentially get rid of the culture and everything. Okay, Setter has hopped offline, no big deal. So I'm just going to tune in 122.8 there. All right, folks, squawking mode Charlie there. Let's go ahead and taxi down to hold short of 1 right. So parking brake released, and we'll taxi out here. Okay, just gonna Do a quick brake check there. That's working perfectly. And one thing I wanted to do, like I mentioned, was reactivate ChasePlane again. There we go. Okay, so turned off ChasePlane, gonna bring it back on. Hopefully it should work. Find out. Here we go. ChasePlane is now back on. Alright. So what I was concerned about was this kind of weird, yeah, that's kind of gone away now. There was this kind of weird sort of like jerkiness when I was trying to zoom in and out. And reactivating ChasePlane seemed to have taken care of that, thankfully. Yeah, totally, James. I agree with that. It really does suck for sure. Okay, let's set our trim into the green band there. Pitch trim for takeoff. And boy, I kind of turned the wrong way there. I meant to go right onto Golf. So we'll go right onto Golf, and then we'll hang a left onto Delta. And we'll take off on Delta. And I'm glad the controller gave us one right for departure, because that's going to give us some spectacular views of the strip during the departure here. Yeah, James. You know, usually when airlines go through these mergers and acquisitions, right, the whole goal is to, you know, it makes very little sense for them from a financial and business operations point of view to kind of keep two separate brands. You know, it's just too onerous, you know. It's much better and much easier from the airline's perspective to integrate and merge the brands into one brand. You know, whether it's the brand of the company they're acquiring or their own brand, it's much easier to just merge everything under one umbrella. So yeah, it's just the way things have been done since forever. And by the way, speaking of which, I meant to give you guys a little bit of the history of the banana jet we're flying today. So I don't know how many of you were on for the little ad we ran earlier. You know, whenever we fly retro airline on stream, I gotta hunt for just the craziest, occasionally funny, occasionally super cringy retro ads from way back in the day, right? So as we taxi down to hold short of one right here, let me show you this ad real quick from Hughes Airwest, and then we'll talk about the history of the name of this airline and also the strange, super strange fluorescent yellow coloring that they've put on their airplanes. Give me 1 second here to cue up the ad. All right.
Yes, we are top banana, that's us, Hughes Airwest. We'll greet you and seat you, go all out to treat you to top banana service. Yes, we are top banana, 'cause we make you a top banana too. Yes, you are top banana, when you're flying with us, Hughes Airwest. Yes!
That's right, we're pulling out all the stops on the DVA Aviator channel to bring you that full retro California experience today. Alright, one thing I wanted to do here real quick was restart the chill music that we were trying to play in the background. Okay, so the history behind this brand, the Hughes and Hughes Airwest comes from Howard Hughes. So there was an airline, Airwest, which was also a product, I think, of various mergers, including with an airline called Bonanza Airlines, if I'm not mistaken, way back in the day. But Airwest was acquired by Howard Hughes because I think this was in the 60s, and he was looking for a new challenge to sort of cut his teeth on way back in the day, and he settled on Hughes Airwest. And boy, I realized I've just completely taxied in a completely wrong manner here. I hopped onto Zulu, and now I'm hopping onto Bravo, and eventually I'm going to hop on Delta. I meant to hop on Delta directly from Golf, but I made a wrong turn there. Helps to look at your taxi diagram while you're taxiing. But we're actually just going to take off from... There should be enough runway here to take off from one right on Bravo, as opposed to crossing 26 left there, or 26 right there. So we'll just hold short here, we'll do our checks, and we'll get going. But Howard Hughes actually acquired Airwest back in the late 1960s. I think he was just looking for a new challenge, right? So he acquired this airline, and I think around the same time frame, I'm not sure how long after he acquired it, but around the same time frame, there was that really sort of like infamous crash between an F4 Phantom, like a mid-air crash between an F4 Phantom and a DC-9 from Airwest. So they decided they really needed a complete rebrand and a livery refresh. So they went away from kind of the more subdued palette of colors that they had in their brand before, and they went to this super, this super visible, super recognizable colors that had this really, really bright yellow livery on the airplane. And of course, as soon as this came out, was the first thing you think of when you look at this airplane from the side. The first thing you think of, right, is it looks like a banana. So that's sort of like informal, labeling of Hughes Airwest's airplanes as flying bananas kind of stuck, and Hughes Airwest themselves actually decided to incorporate that into their branding. So they had this kind of funny, catchy, if you fly with us, you're the top banana in the sky sort of like branding for their airline, which is kind of cool and interesting. Anyway, let's go ahead and get going here. Just going to pull up the checklist once again. There we go.
Standby horizon and flight instruments. Checked.
I forgot to get my anti-skid on once I've turned away from the ramp, obviously.
Stabilizer, trim tabs, 0 and 0.
Okay, flaps and slats should be set to
Slats extended, flaps 5. Flaps, slats, blue light. Takeoff data and EPR set.
Takeoff warning checked.
Takeoff warning checked.
Air conditioning auto shut off. I'll leave it in override, actually. It doesn't really matter for now.
Air conditioning auto shut off. ARM. Anti-skid. ARM. APU. On or off.
Okay, and let's do our flight controls check here. Full left. And by the way, when we go full left, we're also watching for the rudder indicator on the autopilot to make sure that the yaw damper is doing what it's supposed to. So it should indicate full opposite deflection from the direction of the yoke. That's good. And then we'll go full up, full down, and we'll also go full left and full right on the rudders. So there we go. That's taken care of. Flight controls checked.
Flight controls checked. Annunciator panel checked.
Takeoff briefing was completed. Once again, just gonna take off on essentially runway heading on a heading of 014 to 2,600 feet, then a climbing left turn on a heading of 315 to 4,500 feet, then a climbing left turn to 1,800. So you know what? I'm actually gonna bug a heading of 315 here, because we're gonna be at 2,600 feet in no time whatsoever. So that is much more helpful to me. So I'm just gonna fly a heading of 014 manually there.
Takeoff minimum fuel quantity required on board.
Yeah, we're good.
Takeoff announcement complete.
Standby 1. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. The banana is just about to take off. Sit back, relax, enjoy the flight. If you're sitting on the left side of the cabin, you're going to have some spectacular views of the Las Vegas Strip on departure. If you're sitting on the right side of the strip, or if you're sitting on the right side of the airplane, well, turn your heads and try to look out the left side of the airplane. And thanks for flying Hughes Airwest today. By the way, do you guys know what the nickname for Airwest was back in the day? Do you guys know what passengers used to call Airwest back in the day? This airline did not have the best reputation, apparently. Radar transponder. Let's get the weather radar on. There we go. Transponder's on.
Radar transponder. Normal. On.
Ignition on both.
Ignition. Both. Before takeoff checklist complete.
Okay, before takeoff checklist is complete. Fantastic. Okay, I'm going to create a safe point here real quick. Screen's going to remain blank for a couple of secs while I do that, just in case we have any sim crashes, obviously. And you know what? I don't see any sign of a controller hopping back on. Just to make things a bit easier on myself, folks, since nobody's flying along, I'm just going to disconnect from VATSIM. That'll just make things a bit easier. Okay, let's go ahead and hop on. We'll get going. Let's get the landing lights on here. Nose lights were already on. Great, so we're all set here to go. Pitch trim is set. We'll line up and get going. So the nickname, I'm surprised nobody even ventured to guess as to the nickname for Airwest back in the day. The nickname was Air Worst. Not super imaginative, but apparently this airline did not have the best reputation when it came to passenger service back in the day. So that was sort of the the way it was viewed among the flying public in California back in the day. Jolly, how's it going? Subosphere, I do not. I just, I don't really get into that kind of stuff on my channel. I try to keep my channel focused more on kind of flying and other stuff related to flight simulation. I don't like to focus on things like settings or that kind of stuff. So I don't have that anywhere. Also, the other thing is, with all due respect, my settings change all the time. Like, if I do a stream and I see things that are just not looking that smooth, I might go and drop my settings. Later on, I might bring them up. So my settings change all the time too. So there's no set of settings really that I can recommend to anyone, unfortunately. So sorry about that. Unfortunately, that's the best I can do you right now. Okay. All right, we're ready to go here, folks. Let's go ahead and get going. Let's check in. Actually, hold on one second, folks. I mentioned that our first officer apparently took the day off, so I'm completely by myself here in case something goes wrong, which really sucks. Especially given this airplane has, as I mentioned on some of my prior streams in this airplane, has some of the best failure modeling in the business. I mean, seriously, every single failure mode you could possibly imagine is here, including a whole bunch of super cool circuit breaker failures, or failures that will actually force some of these circuit breakers back here to pop out that you might have to reset. All that stuff is modeled, so it's super unfortunate that I did not have a first officer. Despite that, though, apparently I'm being graded on a curve today because we still have our trusty check captain with us. Say hi to Check Captain Obvious. As usual, he's going to be in the jump seat back there, monitoring my performance and making me aware in tremendous detail of all the things I'm doing wrong, right? Okay, anyway, we're all lined up here. Let's get going. Okay, once again, I'm just very quickly here going to create a safe point, if you don't mind. There we go. Let's go ahead and set takeoff power. We'll get going. Okay, takeoff power being set. Engine stabilizing. There's takeoff power. We're rolling. Pretty much calm winds here, really. That's right, James. We're definitely not alone. There's airspeed alive, 60 knots.
80 knots. V1.
There's V1.
Rotate.
Rotate.
V2. V2 plus 10. Positive rate of climb.
Gear coming up. There we go. Kind of had a slow rotation there for some reason.
Gear up and locked.
All right, there we go, and we're departing. We're just going to climb on a heading of 014 here until 2,600 feet. Then it's a climbing left turn to heading of 315 until we reach an altitude of 4,500 feet. There we go. So continue to climb left here, and some gorgeous views of the strip off the left side of the airplane there as we climb out. Look at that. This is a fantastic scenery from Flytampa, as you could probably tell from the intro. You can see the fountains of the Bellagio down there. There's 315. Gonna roll out in that heading. And let's set climb power here. Let's lower the nose, and we'll accelerate at climb speed. Let's get flaps up.
Retracted.
There we go. And then we're going to turn left to heading of 180. Okay, there's 4,500 feet. Let's go ahead and turn left now to heading of 180. Let's get slats up.
Retracted.
James Iskander, no worries. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us thus far. We'll hope to catch you next time, my friend. You take care. All right, we're going to turn left now to heading of 180. Once I've gotten the airplane trimmed out here, I can go ahead and set my heading bug. Once again, I don't have a first officer to help me do this. And I have a check captain who is mostly interested in eating popcorn, so kind of by myself here. I got to tell you, the one airplane that I'd love to see shared cockpit brought to is this airplane. It would be so much fun to fly shared cockpit. Okay, you know what? We're just going to continue climbing all the way up to 18,000 feet there. So 18,000 is going to be the altitude we're going to climb to. Just going to lower the nose a bit there. There we go. right. Gonna keep turning left here. All right, let's get the autopilot on. Definitely gonna need the autopilot to help me out here. Okay, servos engaged. Let's go into heading select mode. There we go. And it's gonna lower the nose just a little bit there so we can accelerate at 250 knots. All right, let's get the nose light off. And I'm gonna set my altitude alert there to, actually let's go into IAS whole mode there as we come up on 250 knots. There we go. And let's set our altitude alerter to 18,000. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So left turn heading 180. At this point, I'm going to assume, by the way, that ATC has cleared me on course. So now I'm going to turn left to heading of about, let's say 130 for now, until I can pick up the 166 radial outbound from Las Vegas. So once I pick up that radial, we'll go ahead and fly that outbound. All right. And by the way, the reason I have this little pop-up for the autopilot, like I mentioned before, is because in the real airplane, the autopilot is down here. Now, all of this stuff works, but it's just a little tricky for me flying this single pilot, as you can imagine, to look back and forth between the autopilot down here and the engine instruments and the primary 6 up here. So I'd rather just have this little pop-up here to help me out. Okay, let's go back into the vertical speed mode here as we pass through 10,000. Landing lights can come off. Let's go ahead and pitch the nose down here a little bit. And we'll go ahead and accelerate to about 280, 290 knots until we get to 18,000 feet. That should be really good. Gull wing, speaking of shared cockpit, absolute gull wing, I gotta follow up on that at some point. I'm sorry, it's been super tricky for me recently to find time to either flight sim or stream, so we'll follow up on it at some point. I promise. We'll definitely make that work at some point. I gotta do a little shared cockpit with one of my mods, actually. I don't know if it's still on, Bloom's 1212 in the Q400, and that was a tremendous amount of fun, despite the fact that we were using different simming platforms. He was using P3D V5 and I was using V4. Let's go back into IAS hold mode there. And there was a bit of an altitude mismatch with the sceneries we were using, so that put me about 30 feet in the air, which was extremely comical. But let's go ahead and do our after takeoff checklist here. Ignition off, air conditioning shut off to override, and let's go ahead and turn off the seat belts here as well. Okay, we're doing great. Okay, there's the needle coming in. Let's go into nav loc mode, and we'll fly outbound on the 166 radial there. All right, great. Airplane's doing pretty well here. It's going to do a little bit of heat seeking, unfortunately, because I wasn't quick enough about getting nav loc mode turned on. So it's going to do a little bit of heat seeking to find that radial and center that needle, but it'll get there eventually. But we're doing great. Let's go ahead and do our after takeoff checklist here.
After takeoff checklist.
Okay, gear flaps, slats, not
Gear,
slaps.
Flaps, slats. Up, lights out.
Yep.
Ignition, on or off.
Ignition is off.
Fuel pumps, 4 or 6 on.
4 on.
Air conditioning auto, shut off. Pressure,
Override.
checked. Annunciator panel, checked.
Okay, and hydraulic system. Okay, let's go back into off, low, and off. There we go. Hydraulic system checked.
Hydraulic system, checked. After takeoff checklist, complete.
All right, after takeoff checklist is complete. We're proceeding on course here. Gull wing. That sounds like a. I'm trying to remember. There's a streamer who sounds exactly like that. That sounds like a very Sim Caesar thing to say, right? Slats, everybody, slats. But yes, absolutely. I don't know why. You know, don't let that mislead you regarding the quality of this add-on. This is one of the highest quality old school big iron jets that's out there for flight sim from Coolsky. That's kind of a weird misspelling, but that's the only misspelling there. It is slats. It totally is slats. Loco for aviation. How's it going, Loco? Loco, is that John? Oh, it's John. How about that? John Ceballos. How's it going there, John? Oh boy. Hold on. Okay, altitude hold mode. There we go. All right, I leveled off super abruptly there. My sincere apologies to the folks in back for that roller coaster ride as we leveled off at 18,000, but I was just not paying enough attention to what was going on, to what was going on with the to what was going on with the altitude, the altimeter there. Okay, so we're leveling off at 18,000. That's great. I'm gonna back off the throttle there just a little bit to about 1.6, maybe about slightly less than 1.6 EPR. That should put me sufficiently below barber pole there. You dropped your banana. James, yes, I totally, thanks for bringing that up earlier, by the way, but indeed, as one would expect, the in-flight meal service does indeed consist of bananas and also various variations of banana-oriented recipes. So we've got Bananas Foster from the finest sous chefs in Las Vegas. We've got Bananas Jubilee. Is that a thing? I don't know. We've got all kinds of banana-based food items available on the menu for you to peruse on this super short flight down to Palm Springs today. We're just about 20 minutes away, by the way, so I'm going to pull up my iPad once again so we can already do our approach briefing, because we're going to be there in absolutely no time whatsoever. This is like one of the a super crazy short flight here. So Loco says you're currently flying from SFO to Denver. How about that? Nice. I just want to make sure my sound commands are working. Indeed they are.
I know that you and Frank were planning to disconnect me, and I'm afraid that's something I cannot
Artwork
allow
porn,
to
how's it going there, Artwork? Thanks for hanging out. Banana plus Kona coffee, the perfect combo. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Although I'm gonna be honest, I'm not the biggest fan myself of bananas. But anyway, so we're coming up on GOPS here. I'm gonna pull up my iPad on screen real quick. Give me one quick second here to do that. Hopefully y'all can see it. So it's a bit of a smaller overlay this time. So eventually, we're going between Las Vegas and GOPS. GOPS is coming up. So GOPS is on a frequency of 114.4. Whoops. Always forget the... Okay, so I'm going back to turn knob mode there. I'm going to synchronize my heading bug. There we go. And I'm going to go back into heading select mode. And at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap my nav1 frequency to 114.4. There we go. And I'm going to put nav2 to 114.2. I'll explain why in a second. And there we go. Now we're picking up the GOPS VOR. So I'm going to go back into nav loc mode now, and we'll fly inbound on the 346 radial. Reciprocal of that is 166, obviously, right? But we're flying inbound now on the 346 radial to GOPS. And let's go ahead and do our arrival briefing here real quick, because we're coming up on our top of descent in a hurry. All right, so our approach briefing. The weather at Palm Springs, winds are out of the west, 270 at 5 knots, essentially calm. We're going to land on 3-1 though, 3-1 left. Visibility is really, really good, 10 statute miles. Clear skies, temperature 20, dew point -8, and altimeter is 3013. All right, amazing. Okay, I'm gonna reset my altimeter now to 3013, just so I don't forget later. There we go. not for any good reason other than I just don't want to forget later, because I'm flying this single pilot. Okay, so this is the Cloud 1 arrival we're gonna be flying. And I picked this arrival, obviously, because it applies for us, right? The only thing required to fly this arrival is a DME. That's it. So from GOPS, frequency 114.4, we're going to track outbound on the 185 radial to Zelma, from Zelma onto Jotnu. The minimum en route altitude, by the way, in this segment between Zelma and Jotnu is 15,000 feet. You see that there? 15,000. And there's also, by the way, you see the MAA there? The MAA, that's the maximum authorized altitude. That's flight level 220. So we're gonna start our descent at some point. I'll explain what that is, in a while, because we still got a ways to go before we get our top of descent, technically. But we're gonna track outbound 185 radial for 51.3 miles until we get to Jotnu. At Jotnu, we're gonna tune in the 29 Palms VOR, which we have in nav2 right now, 114.2. And we're going to track inbound on the 028 radial, a course of 208 to 29 Palms. Minimum en route altitude for that segment is 8,000 feet. And then from 29 Palms, we're going to track outbound on the 199er radial, actually standby 1. We're coming up here on the VOR. We're coming up here on the GOPS VOR, so I'm going to go back into the turn knob mode, and I'm going to tune in a course of 185. That's going to be our outbound course from this VOR. So we're going to tune in a course of 185 there as we come up on the VOR. And I'm going to turn my heading here as well as we come up on the VOR. So the VOR is almost directly below us at this point. Somewhere down there, almost directly below us. And I'm just going to watch for that needle to come in. As the needle comes in, I'm going to go into, there we go. Actually, we're now over the cone of confusion, so we've completely lost the needle, but the needle's going to come back here in just a hot second. So there we go, and now we're on the other side of the VOR, and we're super close to the VOR, so obviously the sensitivity is super high, right? So I'm going to turn slightly to the right there, maybe about 5 to 6 degrees right, and I'm going to watch for that needle to come back in on the other side of the VOR. As we're watching that and keeping an eye on that, I'm gonna continue talking through the approach brief here. So we left us off at 29 palms. So at 29 palms, we're going to hang a left on the 19er radial outbound until we get to cloud. Cloud is 15.1 DME from the 29 palms VOR. There's the needle coming in there. Let's go ahead and turn off heading. Actually, hold on, not just yet. But as the needle comes in, I'm going to turn off heading select mode and go back into nav loc mode. But once we get to cloud, we're going to track inbound on the 021 radial to thermal. Thermal VOR has a frequency of 116.2, and we're going to fly a course of 201 directed thermal. Okay, there's the needle coming in. I'm just going to wait for it to pretty much center before I go back into nav loc mode here. Okay, there we go. I think that's good enough. Heading select off, back into nav loc mode. And please don't do anything crazy here, Autopilot. Artwork, I am doing fantastic. Thanks for asking. I don't know if I mentioned this at the start of the stream, but it's been super hard lately, folks, for me to find time to like either flight sim or stream lately, unfortunately. But I hope all those of you that are hanging out tonight are doing fantastic. Wherever in the world you're tuning in from, hope you're all doing amazing. Thanks for hanging out today. By the way, we're at 18,000 feet, technically flight level 180. I should have set my altimeter to 29092, but because I'm flying offline, I'm just making things easier on myself by going 3013, which is the field elevation or local altimeter setting at Palm Springs. Okay, so once we get to thermal, we're going to fly the VOR Bravo approach. Why are we flying this approach? Because it's really the only approach I have available to me, given that all the other approaches are RNAV approaches. So this is the approach we're going to fly today. So we're this approach, right? Let's take a look. The frequency for the thermal VOR is 116.2. The final approach course is 290. And essentially, we're going to be coming in from, let's see, cloud. So we're going to come in on a heading approximately of 201, right? 201 is the heading we're coming in from. You see that there? That's the course we're coming in from. So you see that? There's actually a racetrack pattern. There's a racetrack course reversal at thermal. Why is that there? Because of all the mountainous terrain here. That allows you, if you're coming in from pretty much anywhere on this approach, actually, I think, you're required to use that course reversal unless ATC clears you straight in. So we're coming in from that direction. So because we're coming in from 201, that puts us in on the parallel entry side of of entering this hold. So we're gonna have to basically fly a parallel entry, and then as soon as we're established on the inbound course, once we've executed our parallel entry, we can just continue from thermal on the 292 radial outbound, right? We don't actually have to fly a lap in the hold if we've been cleared the approach at thermal before we get to thermal. If we've been cleared the approach, all we need to do is fly the parallel entry, and once we're established in the inbound course, we don't need to fly another lap in the hold. We can just continue on the 292 radial outbound. So this hold there, by the way, is there for two reasons, right? First reason, and correct me if I'm wrong, again, I'm not somebody that's super proficient when it comes to instrument flying, because that's not the majority of my flying IRL. I tend to do a lot more VFR, tailwheel, and glider flying. But my understanding is this hold would be there for two reasons. First reason is to have a course reversal, to establish you on a course that's inbound to the airport. The second reason is there also to help you lose altitude, because we're coming in pretty high. Right now we're at 18,000 feet. You know, we'll try to be at 4,000 by the time you get to thermal, but in case we need to lose altitude, one option is to lose altitude in the hold, descending in the hold. So anyway, once we get to thermal, once we've done the parallel entry and we're established inbound, we get back to thermal, then we can fly outbound on the 292 radial, descending down to 3,000, and we want to be at 3,000, 14.4 DME from thermal, and then we can descend after that down to the MDA of 2,300 feet. So I'm going to set my decision height, decision altitude MDA bug here to 300. I can't set it to thousands, obviously. I can only set it to hundreds. So I'm going to have to mentally remember that's 2,300 feet. Okay, so this approach point is 20.4 DME from thermal VOR. And in case we need to go miss for any reason, we're going to climb right. We're going to do a climbing right turn to 4,000 feet direct to the Palm Springs VOR, frequency 115.5, then outbound via the Palm Springs VOR 124 radial, then inbound in the thermal 304 radial to thermal VOR, and we'll hold there, exactly as published and as we discussed already. These are the MSAs for the thermal VOR. Again, pretty high terrain around the airport, obviously. Anything else on here that I need to pay attention to? Not really. Okay, now we've gone sufficiently far enough from the GOPS VOR that we're not picking the VOR up anymore. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tune in the 29 Palms VOR 114.2, and let's go back to the cloud bond arrival here. I want to tune in the 028 radial, so a course of 208. That's a reciprocal of the 028 radial. And as soon as I see that needle come in, which it is, it's slowly starting to come in there. As soon as it comes in, we've reached Jotnu. So you see where we are right now, the little magenta arrowhead there, that's our present position. Once we get to Jotnu, that needle will center, because at that point we're on the 208 radial inbound to 29 Palms. We'll pick up that needle, pick up that radial, and we'll fly that inbound. So there's the needle coming in. Right about there, I'm going to go back into nav look mode. So currently, right, we're at 18,000 feet. And I want to be at thermal around about 4,000 feet. So I've got to lose 12,000 feet of altitude, right? Or no, it's 14,000 feet of altitude, actually. So let's see. Just using the rule of 3 here, 10 times 3 is 30, obviously, and then 4 times 3 is 12, so about 42 miles out from thermal is when I want to start my descent. So 20 miles to cloud, 15 miles approximately to 29 Palms, so 35 miles to 29 Palms, so probably about 10 miles out approximately from 29 Palms, I can start my descent down to 4,000. So let's go ahead and reset our altitude alerter there down to 4,000. This is a super short flight and it keeps you super busy when you're flying this single pilot, obviously. But I'm going to set this down to 4,000. There we go. And once I see the DME readout there tick down to about 10, I'm going to go ahead and start my descent. So there we go. Let's go ahead and finish our approach briefing here. We're going to land on 3-1 left because the winds seem to favor a landing on 3-1 left, right? So, oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, all the minimums for this approach are circle to land minimums. Notice that? All the minimums are circle to land minimums. There's no straight-in approach minimums for any runway here, unless you're flying an RNAV approach. So what this means is if I have the airport in sight before the missed approach point, and I will because the visibility is super good, I'm just going to go ahead and go visual and go straight in essentially with a little bit of twisting and turning here to get around the terrain and give myself some maneuvering room to line up on final for 3-1 left. But we're going to land on 3-1 left today, and let's take a look. Runway length is 10,000 feet, super long runway, but very important to note, I'm just going to start my descent here, first of all. But very important to note, it's 10,000 feet long, but this runway has very, very long displaced thresholds. So there's a huge displaced threshold there from the end of 31 left to taxiway Alpha, about 3/4 of the way to taxiway Bravo there. There's a displaced threshold there. You notice that? So that's something I got to have to keep in mind, because I can touch down on the displaced threshold, obviously, but I can use the displaced threshold on the other side to roll out. So that's something to note. So my guess is we're going to roll out to about Juliet, perhaps Kilo, maybe even Lima if I'm super bad about managing my energy here. But either way, we're going to roll out to whatever we need to roll out to, and bring it to bring the airplane to a stop, taxi off. Then we'll check out some replays, obviously, and if we have time, we'll hop into MSFS later. One second. Let me go back to the Cloud 1 here. I want to go ahead and put in a course now. Sorry, I want to tune in the 19er radial. There we go. Whoops. Oh boy. 19er radial back in the nav loc mode. Perfect. Oh boy. I hope this flies it. There we go. Now we're flying that radial. Outbound, hopefully. Sometimes the autopilot tends to be a little crazy here. Okay, now it's working. Hopefully. Oh boy, come on, autopilot. Do what I'm asking you to do. I'm trying to get the autopilot to hop on that radial. Okay, now it's working. I think I need to be a certain distance out before it'll do its thing, but that's fine. Okay, let's get the seatbelt sign on here, and I'm just going to set up some things for landing here. I'm just going to get the hydraulics pumps back to on, high, and on, and check that we have 3,000 psi approximately of hydraulic pressure both sides. There we go, upper green band, 3,000 psi approximately. That's good enough, and yeah, we're tracking the radial outbound. That's fantastic. Okay. We might taxi to the terminal just because the scenery from Orbx is so cool, and I want to show you that before we check out some replays. But we will taxi to the terminal. The other thing I wanted to show you was if you don't have Navigraph charts, or if you do have Navigraph charts, make sure to check out the super cool overview and other informational plates that are now available. So there's a lot of plates available now for various different airports in, all around the world, where you can see some really cool information with some cool pictures and other information around your favorite airport, around the world. So we're going to land on 31 left. There's a lot of good information here that we don't have time to review, unfortunately, because I'm super focused now on following the approach procedure we talked about. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'm going to leave the iPad up so we have that for some situational awareness for the folks in the back, for the folks in the audience, that is. And we're going to continue our descent here. So we're coming up on Cloud, right? So Cloud is 15.1 miles out on the 19er radial from 29 Palms. So as we come up on Cloud, I'm going to go back into the turn knob mode there in the autopilot. I'm going to tune in the thermal VOR, frequency is 116.2, and we're going to fly a course of 201, which is the, which is the, one second, let's go into heading select mode, course of 201, which is the 021 radial inbound. So there's 201, heading select off, please. Let's go back into nav loc mode. There we go. And there we go. That's great. At this point, by the way, in preparation for the approach, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and set my heading bug to the outbound course on that hold. So the outbound course is 109er. So I'm going to put my heading bug there to 109er. There we go. Gullwing, how's it going? Gullwing says you always seem to encounter wind shear landing. Yes, with all that terrain, yeah, especially if the winds kick up, that totally makes sense, right? Okay, I wanted to do my
preliminary landing checklist. Seatbelt sign on.
Airport elevation is 477, so I'm going to set that. There we go.
cabin pressure panel. Check.
It's going to slow down to 250 knots there as we come up on 10,000 feet.
Hydraulic system on, high, on, check.
Yep, on, high, and on.
Altimeters.
Local altimeter setting 3013 set. Okay. Landing lights can be turned on at this point, below 10,000.
Landing data and EPR set.
Landing data, I'm going to set that, so going to be a flaps 40 landing. Approach, V approach for flaps 40, 130. I think this is VREF, so final approach speed is going to be 145, correction, 135. This is 130 here. Final approach speed is going to be 135 with the winds at Palm Springs.
Shoulder harness on. Approach briefing complete. Preliminary landing checklist complete.
Okay, preliminary landing checklist is complete. All right, great.
Landing checklist.
I'm going to set my ignition to both right now because it's going to be a little hard to reach that later. All right, great. We're doing fantastic here. A little about 250 knots there. Just going to get the speed brakes out to help me slow down a little bit. And we're going to continue descending to 4,000 feet here. Okay, we're 6 miles out from the VOR at this point, and if you notice the direction we're coming in from, essentially this is a parallel entry. So we're going to do a parallel entry. Once we're established in the inbound course at the end of the parallel entry, then we can, once we get to thermal, we can continue outbound in the 292 radial and fly the approach. Okay, at this point I'm going to go back into turn knob mode, and I'm going to keep slowing myself down here, so I'm going to leave the speed brakes out and let the airplane slow down a bit. Palm Springs is off to the right. There's 29 actually no, that's thermal below us. That's the down and thermal there. And as we come up on thermal here, I'm just gonna wait just a few more seconds before I go ahead and get heading select on. Okay, let's get heading select on, and now what we're going to do is we're going to fly outbound. And I'm going to slow down to 200 knots for the hold. Okay, at this point I'm going to go ahead and set a course of 289. That's the inbound course in the hold, right? You can see there, inbound course is 289. I'm going to set that. 285, 286, 287.
1,000 to go.
288, 289. There we go. Okay, so we're going to fly this heading outbound for the parallel entry here. Okay, 1,000 to go. I'm going to go ahead and start shallowing my descent at this point to level off at 4,000, and always got to remember the 5 T's of holding. I forgot to do the time part, most important. I'm going to start my time about 45, so I'm going to wait another 35 seconds or so before I start my turn inbound. Okay, let's level off at 4,000 here. All right, this is working out beautifully. Liking what I'm seeing. Let's extend the slats. There we go. And I'm going to try and maintain about somewhere between 190 and 200 knots there. There we go. Leveled off nicely. Oh, that's beautiful. All right, so we're flying the parallel entry here. And once I hit 45, there we go. Now I'm going to start my turn inbound. So I'm going to roll my heading selector, my heading bug rather, all the way around to, let's see, 289 minus 30, so 259. That's going to be the heading I want to be on in order to intercept the inbound course. Okay, we're doing fantastic here, 4,000. I'm going to reset my altitude alerter now down to my MDA of 2,300 feet. And I'm going to remember the 3,000 feet level off, 14.4 DME at mulch. Just going to have to remember that. All right, we're doing fantastic here. Did I have the correct heading bug there? Yes, I did. I think I did at least. 259er. Yeah, that's good. Although our current bearing to the VOR... no, that's fine. That's all good. I think we'll be good. Okay. gonna add a bit of throttle there, a bit of thrust to get back up to the speed I was looking for. There we go. Okay. Eventually we're going to be established in the inbound course. In fact, I'm going to turn myself a little bit more here to maybe that heading, so that I can be established in the inbound course a little bit earlier. But this is great. We're at 4,000 feet. We're flying the parallel entry. We're going to get on the inbound course here in just a hot second. And once we're established in the inbound course, we can go ahead and fly the rest of the approach as soon as we get to thermal. So just watching for that needle to come in there. That needle's going to come in a hurry because we're super close to VOR here. So I'm going to have to anticipate that a little bit. There's the needle coming in. Let's go into nav loc mode. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to mess around with nav loc mode. I'm just going to go into heading select here. Alright, there's the needle coming in. Oops. Heading select. There we go. We're pretty much right over the VOR at this point, so don't be too stressed out by the crazy things the needle is doing. Although that wasn't managed very well on my part. I was trying to get the autopilot to do what I wanted it to, and it wasn't quite panning out. Okay, right now I'm tuning the 292 radial outbound. So I'm waiting for the to from indicator to flip. I'm going to slow down to my initial approach speed here of 180 knots. Let's get flaps 5. And there's the from indication, so at this point what I'm going to do is continue descending down to 3,000 feet. There we go, going to continue descending down to 3,000. I'm going to fly a heading that brings me back on that radial. There we go. That should hopefully put me back on that radial. Now of course it really, really helps, just like it does in real life, to have that little, have the iPad there, with the moving map. That really, really helps, obviously, to tell you how far you've deviated from what you were thinking about doing. A little bit of a stutter there, folks. Sorry about that. Okay, there's the needle coming in. As soon as that needle comes in, and there's 3,000 feet, or there's us coming up on 3,000 feet as well, so I got to keep that in mind. Want to level off at 3,000 feet until 14.4 DME. Okay, there's the needle coming in. Going to maintain 180 knots again, and let's go into altitude hold mode there. There we go, leveling off at 3,000, and let's go turn off the heading select mode. Let's go into nav loc mode. There we go, perfect. John was asking where can you get iPad. So John, this is actually, what you're seeing is actually an overlay. This is a fancy little trick. It's actually a trick of streaming. It's not, I actually cannot see what you're seeing on the screen, on my screen. The iPad is separate, that's on my lap right now, and I can use Navigraph charts to follow along my progress and look at charts, etc. on my iPad separately from what you're seeing on the screen. So I use a little trick. There's a mirroring tool for the iPad available for PC called Air Server, available for Windows, and I use that to mirror my iPad on screen. And then through Streamlabs, I can use a little bit of black magic and voodoo to get that to show as an overlay while I'm doing this approach. Okay, there we go. So now I'm watching for that DME readout there to tick up to about 14.4 DME, right? At mulch, 14.4 DME from thermal, that's when I can continue descending down to the MDA of 2,300 feet. Alright, so this wasn't the best executed. In fact, our check captain is probably not too happy with everything he's seen from us so far. But all things considered, not too bad, considering I'm flying this airplane single pilot and all that. Okay, I'm gonna continue maintaining 180 knots there. And folks, I'm gonna do something here real quick. Just give me a hot second here. The screen's gonna go blank for just a little bit while I adjust the sim time, because otherwise things are going to be way too dark outside. I'm going to do that again. Give me 1 second here. There we go. That's better. Otherwise, the shadows from all the mountains around here in P3D would just completely blank out all the textures with my Tomatoshade preset. It's going to completely blank out the textures of Palm Springs, which is what we don't want. So that's why I reset the sim time to be about 30 minutes earlier there. Loco, or John, absolutely. John, if you're still looking to stream, you have my email address still, right, John? Feel free to send me an email, John, and I will try to follow up on that and help you out as best I can. You know, I would, by the way, just as someone who kind of discovered just how steep of a learning curve streaming has sometimes, my recommendation is not to jump into it with all the complicated, like, fancy overlays and all that kind of stuff. I would just start streaming relatively bare bones initially to see how much you like it first. And if you like it, then you know, my suggestion would be, if you like it, then slowly advance up to, you know, things like overlays and all these cool streaming gimmicks that you see a lot of on my channel. Oh, that's a good point, Goldwing. I always forget about that because I don't use it that much. I always forget about that. Okay, we're coming up on 14.4 DME here. And you can see the runway. We've already got a visual. We're a little high, but I think I can compensate for that by adjusting my course. So at this point, we're descending down to our MDA. And actually, since I've got a visual, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and turn off the autopilot. So autopilot disconnected. And I'm just going to go ahead and fly manually at this point. Gear coming down. Let's get the nose lights on. And we'll try and fly a visual here to runway 31 left. So we'll fly a visual. And let's get the landing checklist complete.
Ignition. Boat.
Yep.
Gear down 3 green. Flaps 25.
Yep, gear down 3 green. Spoilers.
Flaps 40.
Oops, actually, hold on one second.
Flaps 25.
Let's get flaps 40 at this point. Spoilers, light out, armed.
Spoilers.
Flaps and slats, flaps 40
flaps
set.
And slats.
Annunciator panel checked.
Annunciator panel. Landing checklist complete.
Landing checklist complete. Okay, we're going to slow down to approach speed of 135, and we're going to try and fly a super steep approach here to 31 left if we can. You know, it probably would have been better for me to it probably would have been better for me to try to do a circling approach with a proper traffic pattern, like maybe do a downwind base and final to 31 left there, but we're going to do it this way. Because your streamer is an idiot. Your streamer is a reckless idiot with a serious case of get-there-itis, right? So anyway, this is what we're doing. We're just going to go straight in 31 left, and it looks like we're getting the VASI system there to more or less do what I wanted to do. So at least we're getting back on glide path.
1,000
Didn't hear any terrain alerts, which is always a good sign, so we're doing good here. Okay, 135 knots, and there we go. We're established on the VASI there. Actually, this is a super interesting VASI that I don't think I've ever used in real life. It's a super interesting VASI setup here, where you've got 3 sets of lights. You see that? 3 sets of lights instead of 2. I think if you have 2 red,
500 feet.
like if you have 2 red and 1 white like that, technically it's 4 red and 2 white. What that tells you is you're slightly low of track, right? If you have 2 white and 2 red, or 2 white and 1 red, that tells you you're slightly high on track.
Feet.
So it's a super interesting kind of system to interpret, especially given I haven't really used this, I don't think, in real life. Anyway, we're doing well here.
50, 30, 10.
There we go, touchdown. Get the nose gear down, and let's go ahead and get the reversers out, hop on those brakes, no auto brake obviously, and we'll slow the airplane down. All right, folks, welcome to Palm Springs, California. Super short, 80 knots, reverser stowed. Super short,
60 knots.
30-minute hop here, wheels up to wheels down from Las Vegas to Palm Springs, but I hope you enjoyed your flight with us. And I hope it made you feel like the top banana in the west back there in our super yellow DC-9 here. Okay, we're just gonna hop off on, what is this taxiway here? We're gonna hop off on Kilo here. Alright, there we go. Let's retract those speed brakes. And tell you what, we'll taxi to the ramp, and then we'll check out some replays. I'm just going to leave everything in landing configuration for the replays, by the way. I just wanted to quickly show you the super cool terminal from Orbx. This is one of Orbx's, super cool sceneries. It's a nice little gem in P3D, I think, that I always love visiting in the sim. Yeah, Loco, totally. Yeah, if, by the way, John, what was the reason, out of curiosity, for the name change? Now, I like the new YouTube channel name, but I'm kind of curious what the reason was for the change from John Ceballos to Loco for Aviation. I do like it a lot, though. It's a super awesome channel name. But yeah, for sure, if you do pick it up, certainly let me know. You know, it's like I was saying before, John, I think it'd be interesting to have the perspective of, or to watch somebody stream from the perspective of a flight mechanic, right, like yourself. Gullwing, absolutely. I'll take a look at it a bit later, perhaps, Gullwing, but I certainly will. Okay, you know what? Let me go ahead and hide my iPad away, because I don't think we need that anymore, really. So let's go ahead and hide that away. There we go. Right, whoops. Don't want to get too distracted. And let's go ahead and stop mirroring the iPad as well. Oh boy. This is what happens when you look down at screens in your hand and in your lap, right? Like your iPad or your iPhone, etc. you end up taking your eyes off the road for just a minute, and you end up doing badly. This is why they always tell you, don't text and drive, don't text and fly, don't even text and taxi. Not a good idea. You know, by the way, when I fly IRL, I usually have a place where I put the iPad. And if I don't have a place where I can mount the iPad, like either on the yoke or on a little suction cup mount, you know, somewhere in the cockpit, what I do is I just don't look at it when I'm in the middle of something, you know. So I try to memorize what I'm supposed to do, occasionally glance at it, but I give myself a resolution. I'm not going to touch the iPad while I'm taxiing, unless I come to a stop. Okay, so this is a super cool terminal from Orbx. We'll just take gate 11 there. 11's a good number. James, thanks for that, James. It wasn't the best landing, as you're going to see, but James was asking whether I would recommend this aircraft. James, if you can save up for the Leonardo Mad Dog, I would strongly recommend that. I'm going to tell you, I love both this add-on and the Leonardo Mad Dog alike. The only thing about this add-on I just want to note is that it is old. It hasn't been updated the way the Leonardo Mad Dog has, right? So the Mad Dog got a complete graphics refresh from the FS10 version, or whatever the old version of the Mad Dog was, right? They did a complete graphics refresh. All the models were made from scratch. This is still the old FS10 model, and it's a bit dated. Now, that being said, one of the things I like about this add-on versus the Mad Dog is that it is way more detailed. So all of these circuit breakers will work. So watch, I'm actually popping out a circuit breaker right now. You see that? And if I pop out a circuit breaker, what is not supposed to work when you pop out that circuit breaker will stop functioning. So that was a center boost pump, I think, for the fuel there. But it's a lot more detailed, personally, I feel, than the Leonardo Mad Dog. That being said, the Leonardo Mad Dog, because it's more modern, has a lot more of the bells and whistles you might come to expect from a modern P3D add-on, right? So it's got ACAR's active sky integration. It's got CPDLC now. You know, it's got that. It's got icing modeling. So it's got all kinds of really cool stuff that, because this is such an old add-on from Coolsky, the DC-9 from Coolsky does not have that compared to the Leonardo Mad Dog, unfortunately. All right, I wanted to very quickly here, folks, show you the terminal building. Just give me 1 second here to position myself before we do our replays. Let's go to gate 11. There we go. And I'm just going to do something else here, and that is I'm just going to change my movement speed. I'm going to change my zoom a little bit as well. There we go. That's better. Okay. All right. We're just going to quickly check out the terminal, then we'll check out some replays. So this is the inside of the terminal. Got a few folks hanging out there. And look at that. I think it's mostly open air, with the exception of this little awning type thing that keeps out the rain rain in Palm Springs. There's a hoot. But it's super cool. I mean, look at this. Welcome to Palm Springs. You got these escalators here. I gotta tell you, Orbx sceneries have that special touch, you know? Not all of them, some of them, depending on who made it, who designed it. Orbx sceneries certainly have that special touch. Again, not all of them, some of them. But I really love the scenery, it's so good. Look at that, it's so good. James is saying you're also thinking about the Flysimware FA50. James, the Flysimware FA50 is also really good. If you're looking for, you know, it kind of depends on what you're looking to do. The Flysimware FA50, the Falcon 50 is a lot more versatile because you can install, you know, a Flight 1 GTN 750 unit or a 650 unit, whatever, right? I think it's a 750 in that case. But, you know, you can modernize the avionics and use it for RNAV procedures and things like that, right? RNAV flying. So that's the benefit. Now, the Coolsky DC-9, there is a workaround, I think, that lets you put in a GPS if you want to, but I've never tried it because, you know, that's part of the joy of flying an old school, you know, big iron, you know, DC-9 like this, is you fly it the way, you know, folks flew it back in the day, right? You fly it, you fly it like just like you'd imagine, you know, your captain from the mid 70s, you know, with a big, you know, mustache and a smoking and a drinking problem would back in the day, right? I kid. For all those of you that flew back then, nothing but respect for you folks, but you want to fly it old school slant whiskey, right? That's the kind of flying you want to do. By the way, if you haven't seen the description of the video, check it out. I actually put some thought into this one today. I just thought it was pretty funny. All right, let's go ahead and check out a replay here of the landing. All right, folks, one question for you. I don't know how many folks would be interested in this, but I was thinking if I have time, and I might have just a little bit of time, and there's interest, we might hop into Microsoft Flight Simulator right after this and do a quick hop around the scary islands to check out the UK update, the world update for MSFS in the Coronado Waco. In case folks want to fly along or what, let me know. If there's interest, I'll do it. If there's not, you know, no big deal. We can either do that in another stream or yeah, fine slanted whiskey. Yeah, you know, I'm all about bringing you that full sophisticated experience that you demand on the DJ Aviator channel, right? Every stream in the DC-9 or the 727, we got an uncork another bottle of super high quality slanted whiskey. And pour ourselves a glass of that super
altitude plus 100 feet.
Smooth, refined aerial sophistication that you all demand of the DJ Aviator channel. All right, let's see what this landing looked like. Look at all the terrain around here. It's just insane, right? And it's such a beautiful scenery too
50,
from Orbx.
30.
All that photo rail stuff is Orbx. Oh, there was a little bit of a float there.
10.
But it worked out decently well. I'm not pleased with the balloon, but it worked out decently well. James, absolutely. James, you know what I would recommend? So it's not exactly the most glamorous kind of flying to do, but if you're looking to see if slant whiskey is something that even appeals to you, my suggestion would actually just be to whip out like a, you know, if you have MSFS, just whip out the 172. You know, if you're using the glass cockpit 172, fly using the green needles, right? Green needles are, you know, raw data, VORs, etc. Or one of the other aircraft where, you know, you have got steam gauges, but you can fly slant, in that case, slant alpha, really. You know, the only difference between slant whiskey and slant alpha, I'm sure all of you know this already, but the only difference is aircraft that have a slant whiskey equipment code are certified for operation in RVSM airspace. Slant Alpha is just everything you do in slant whiskey without flying in RVSM. That's basically the only difference. But you know, I think the what I would suggest there, James, is consider doing a little bit of that slant alpha stuff
Positive rate of climb,
in a slower aircraft to see if you enjoy it, first of all. You know, and if you do, then it might be worth thinking about an airplane, you know, an add-on like this from Coolsky, where you'll be doing this at much faster speeds with a lot more going on. You know, one of the things you always get concerned about, right, especially as a streamer, when you talk so highly of an add-on, is whether or not it actually is somebody else's cup of tea. You know, I'm having a lot of fun with it, but it's a lot of it can be a really painful experience if this is not the kind of flying you're really prepared for, because it is a high workload environment, I gotta tell you. You know, especially on such a short flight, this was a super high workload environment. John was saying last weekend he had the opportunity to work on one of the only A321 freighters in the world from Titan Airways. How about that? They're flying for Amerijet in Miami. They're doing Panama and Nicaragua. How about that there, John? That's super cool. Yeah, I've heard of the A321 freighter conversion, so that's super cool. All right, folks, you know what time of the stream it is. It is that time of the stream where we take a look at DJ Aviator's patented belly cam shot, where we get to observe in fine, exquisite detail all the flaws of DJ's landings. This is the camera I like to refer to as the great equalizer, because no matter how good a landing looks on any other shot, this shot will reveal all, you know, in exquisite detail just how bad your landing really was. So there you go. We're off kilter, you know, we're misaligned from center line, we're off center line, and there was the balloon too. So there you go, folks, the belly cam shot. All right, any other shot we want to see? I think we might want to do a wing view real quick, right? So let's do a wing view from over here, and then we'll call it a stream. Once again, is there any interest from anyone in seeing some flying in MSFS in the Coronado Waco in the Scary Islands? Is there any interest whatsoever? If not, we'll skip that. Okay, let me zoom out here. Once again, these are the mountains to the west of the airport. Really, really spectacular here. Sorry, just catching up on chat here. Gullwing, yeah, absolutely. I agree about the comment you made at James about the Mad Dog from Leonardo being absolutely worth it. And you know, they are always improving it. That's the other thing to mention too, if you're still there, both James and Gullwing. But the problem with this add-on from Coolsky is it's pretty much done in terms of development. You know, I don't think they haven't released any updates or patches in years, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a long time since they've released any updates, and obviously the graphics, as you can tell, are a bit dated, but that's not a problem with the Leonardo Mad Dog, because it's a relatively newer add-on in the flight sim community for P3D, and so they're still, you know, constantly pushing out the latest and greatest like updates and patches that add all kinds of like new features like CPDLC, etc. So that's one of the nice things about that add-on from Leonardo versus this one from Coolsky. All right, folks. Trying to think if there's anything else we can watch in terms of replays, but I think that's basically about it. We might be able to watch one from the cockpit, actually, like a dash cam shot or something. Yeah, we could do a quick dash cam shot, actually. Do that here real quick. James, absolutely. You know, I gotta tell you, I would love to have, James, I would love to have some kind of plugin for Adobe video, you know, like my video editing tool. So Gullwing, if you're still on, by the way, yeah, I'll respond to that. Yeah, Gullwing, I'm gonna have to look into that. You know, Gullwing, I'd like to have like something offline first before we decide to go to a stream, right? Because streaming can be, as you can imagine, that's a bit of a jumping with both feet into the fire type of experience. so I want to make sure before we do that, Gullwing, that we maybe do something offline. But yeah, we could certainly do the TFDI. That could be a fun one, or the Q400, or something else. Or if you have the Mad Dog, that could also be a super fun one to do it in. It looked a lot smoother in this view, didn't it? All right. Okay, folks. Well, I guess we're not going to do the Coronado Waco, right, in MSFS. Probably not. Yeah, so we'll save that for another day. We'll save MSFS for another day in that case. All right, folks. Let's go ahead and figure out how far back we want to pull the final replay here. And I'm going to cue up some outro music here, and we'll call it a night. All right, folks, once again, actually, before we sign off, I hope you enjoyed your time getting the full Hughes Airwest Top Banana in the West retro experience today. This was fun to fly, and I gotta tell you, this little flight, the super short flight in the DC-9 from Las Vegas to Palm Springs, was super fun to recreate. You know, I think they flew the DC-9 on this route way back in the day, but I could be mistaken. For all I know, maybe it was the Fairchild 27s that they used to operate as well. But I think for the timing of the route, the departure and arrival time, it probably makes a lot more sense that it was the DC-9 rather than the Fairchild. So anyway, just thought it'd be fun. All right, folks, we got to cue up that retro ad once again. You know which one it is. We got to cue that up once more. Thanks for flying Hughes Airwest today.
Yes, 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 we are Top Banana. Top Banana, that's us, Hughes Airwest. We'll greet you and seat you, go all out to treat you to Top Banana service. Yes, 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 we are Top Banana. 'Cause we make you a Top Banana too. Yes, 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 you are Top Banana. When you're flying with us, Hughes Airwest. Yes!
All right, folks. Okay, I'm going to cue up our outro music and our replay and all that stuff here. Just going to make sure my end credits are working. I think they are, so that's fantastic. All right, great. All right, folks, can't thank you all enough for hanging out today. I hope you had fun. I know I did. As usual, you know, my streams are kind of scheduled at the very last minute, and I usually have an idea for what I'm going to stream, like, you know, days in advance, but when I actually get to stream, kind of happens relatively last minute and last second. So I can't thank you all enough for hanging out. I'm not sure when I'm going to be streaming again next. You know, hopefully this coming weekend, but I'm not sure just yet. You know, we'll see and we'll find out. But to all those of you that hung out, thank you so much. I hope you all had a good time. James too, Gullwing. I'll follow up Gullwing for sure with you. John Ceballos, I'm sure I'll follow up with you as well, my friend, about your interest in streaming at some point in the near future. James Escander, thanks for hanging out to you as well. And anybody else is in chat, Artwork Porn et al., who's still in chat, thanks so much for hanging out. I hope you all had a good time. I know I did. And as usual, in the day and age of coronavirus, I hope you all stay safe and stay healthy. And we'll look forward, hopefully, to catching you sometime in the near future. Perhaps this weekend. Perhaps another time. Not sure just yet. I guess we'll see you when we'll see you. Y'all take care. Hey, thanks for hanging out. Have a great one, y'all. Bye-bye.